I'm Tabitha, welcome to this week's video. You may notice that we are here on an empty lot in The Sims 4, and that is because I'm going to be sharing with you my favorite tips and tricks that I wish that I knew when I first started building. So the first tip is actually going to be turning on the Sims 3 camera. So if you use the Sims 4 camera, your view is like this, no matter what. So what you're going to do if you have the Sims 4 camera turned on is you're going to click this little recording icon and you're going to click this button, the Sims 3 camera. And what you'll notice is that if you use the scroller button, if you press down on that and move around, you can tilt the screen now. This is extremely helpful when you're building and decorating. The next tip is actually the 9 and 0 keys. So I'll grab an item. So let's say you have this roll of paper towels and you would like to raise it up. Maybe it doesn't slot on an item or on a table and you want it there. You're going to press the 9 key on your keyboard to raise it up. And you'll see that it's slowly hovering. And if you need it a little bit lower, 0 key. The third trick is the Alt key. So we're going to take the same paper towel roll, and you'll notice right now it's slotting to the grid. Well, when I press the Alt key on my keyboard, you'll notice I can free place, and I can also free rotate. The next key is actually the F5 key. So it's going to be at the top of your keyboard, and it's labeled F5, and you're going to click that. And you'll notice that you can now place on quarter tiles. So I'll show you what it was like before. You could only place on this dotted line and this solid line. But when you do F5, you can now actually place in this little quarter tile if you would like to. I personally always have F5 on. The last kind of trick I have is to actually use this cube item. Any of these modular cubes should work. So the great thing about this shelf is it actually slots almost everything on it. So what you can do is slot this here, and let's say you want to place it on this, but it's not slotting where you want it, or you want it in a very specific spot. You can see how it only has 2 slots at the top there, but maybe you want it in this corner. Well, what you're going to do is use the Alt key that we talked about earlier and clip this so that it's right there. So it's at the exact right height. Move the item. Click this, press Alt key, and now you'll notice it's at the right height. Position it, check it, move it a little bit more, and then just delete this when you're done. Those are some basic tricks you can do, and they're extremely helpful, mostly when decorating in The Sims. Now we're gonna move on to cheats, and I'm gonna share with you 3 cheats that are extremely helpful. So the first one is actually bb.moveobjects on. Now you'll notice that I have a mod, and we'll talk about this later, so I always have it on, but let's say you don't have that mod. You're going to type bb.moveobjects space on, and you'll see it in the cheat bar. It says move objects cheat is on. You can close the window, and what you'll notice is, so let's say you want to place this, and you'll notice that it will actually let you clip items together now. Now you have to be careful with this one because it might make things unfunctional, but for example, if you just want it for clutter purposes, you're totally fine, and you're now able to clip things together, whereas if it's off, it wouldn't let you do that. The next cheat is ignore gameplay unlocks. So I actually have a sim on this lot, which is perfect because I can show you what I'm talking about. If you scroll to the bottom of any category, you'll see these locked icons. But let's say for some reason you really need to use this treasure chest. What you're going to do is open the cheat bar, which is Shift-Control-C, and then you're going to type this in. It's going to be bb dot, and bb stands for build by, ignore gameplay unlocks entitlement. It's a weird one and it's a long one, but it works. Close the cheat bar. Now you'll see it's still locked, but if you click on something else and then click back, you'll notice that all of those items are now available. And as you can see, this item is now in the catalog and free to grab and place. The last cheat is actually a set of cheats, and this will unlock debug and live edit objects, which is great for landscaping. The first thing you're gonna do is open the cheat bar and do testing cheats space true. Cheats are now enabled. The next cheat you're gonna do is bb.showhiddenobjects. Debug cheat is mostly collectibles, things you can make, like the presents, in-game items. Now, live edit objects are going to be things around the world. So the second cheat to unlock those items is going to be bb.showliveeditobjects. And now you can see things like this. And you'll see when you hover over it, it says debug, it's $0. But you can place it and you can use it. The next thing I want to talk about are mods. Now, I have 3 for you. 2 of them go hand in hand. One is the tool mod, and one is the better build by mod. So tool mod lets you do the same things as better build by, except you can't do it in build mode. So when you have both enabled, you'll be able to do something like this. Let's say for some reason you want a giant basketball. You can actually use the mod to scale it to a specific size. So let's do 2.3. You can also use it to raise it, to elevate your items. 0.05, just slightly hovering above the ground. You can also use it to change lighting. So let's place a light. You usually have to have a sim on the lot to change lighting. Now you don't. You hit shift, click the light, and this menu pops up. And it's the same stuff, except you get a color wheel. You can change it to pink, purple, whatever you want. The next mod is similar to the cube trick I showed you. It's the red shelf mod or the OMSP mod. And basically it does the same thing as the cube. So we have this shelf. Let's find a clutter item. Let's say for some reason you want to put it on this teddy bear. It works the exact same as the cube, except it's a mod. So you just do that, slide it off, and now you'll see it's not hovering. And then you just delete it, and you haven't used CC in your build. But if for some reason you can't download mods, you don't want to download mods, you can just use the cube. Moving on to build tips. These are some tips that I wish I knew. The first one, start with a box. You don't need to start out trying to make a fancy shape. Start out with a box and add things from there. Now you have a more interesting shape. So start with a square or a rectangle and make it fancy. Add bump outs. Add porches, but start with a box. The second thing is to visualize where you want the rooms to go. I'm gonna start with a box, and we'll say that's like the living room. This is the living room, maybe we have the kitchen back here, and then I want a little entryway, so we're gonna add a little bump out for that. Now from here, I know I need a bathroom and at least one bedroom. So maybe we have a small bathroom off the kitchen. And from there, maybe the bedroom is right here and the door can go right here. So again, we started with that base and now we have a more interesting shape. Some other tips that aren't actually in The Sims is to use a real floor plan. And I will try and find some sites that have real floor plans and just follow it. If you don't know where to start, a floor plan is a great way to get an idea of how you should lay out a house. And you can always take creative liberties. If you don't like where the bathroom is, move it. But it'll give you an idea of where to start. Next, similarly, get a reference photo. If you want to build a cottage, look up on Google, cottage, and find some images of what you're trying to go for and use them as references. And of course, you can change things if you want to, but use it as a guide. The last piece of advice I have involves roofing, and that is to start with the biggest pieces. So let's roof this. I'm gonna take a gabled roof, and this is the biggest piece to me. So I'm just going to do this and see how it works. And the next biggest piece is here. So I'll just copy this and rotate it. Now you can see we only have 2 pieces left. Let's take this, copy it, and then I'm actually just gonna a roof like that, I think. So I'm actually gonna copy this one. And we'll just do this. And you can see it actually lines up nicely with the rest of the roof. The last thing I want to talk about is landscaping, and I have two major tips. The first one is to pick a few plants that you want to use all around the lot. So the first thing I would do is kind of determine the color scheme of the plants I want. So maybe I want the blue hydrangea bush. We'll do this light blue bush. So maybe this is the set of plants I want to use around the build. The second landscaping trick I have is to layer the plants. I love using this low-lying plant. I use it everywhere to kind of outline. So I kind of alt place it, and then what I'll do is, and sometimes I'll size this down, which I didn't mention earlier. If you use the bracket keys, you can actually size things up and down. Put a little bush there, layering. You have different heights. You've got the low-lying plant, and then you'll fill this in with terrain. And you can see that we've got this cute little set of plants, and I'll just kind of do that around the area. Okay, and those were my tips and tricks for building in The Sims 4 for beginners. I hope this was helpful. If I missed anything, let me know in the comments below. I will also make sure to link the mods I talked about, and let me know if you want to see a video talking more in depth about the tool and Better Build by mods. Okay, I will see you all next week. Bye!